Whether it's good or bad, exciting or disappointing, or just plain cringe, E3 is considered by many fans to be the Super Bowl of the gaming industry. Sony came out with some interesting statements addressing that they will not be attending E3 2019. That has left a lot of gamers asking themselves if this is the beginning of the end of E3. We will talk about that here in Nerdy Cabana, but first I would like to invite you, the viewer, to participate in a giveaway that my friend Nintendo Game Talk and myself are doing. We're giving away a code of Super Smash Brothers, and in order for you to participate, it's very simple. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel Nerdy Cabana, subscribe to his channel Nintendo Game Talk, and follow us on Twitter, and be there on the 4th of December for the Cabana Podcast, because that's the day that we're gonna be revealing who the winner is. This giveaway was not going to be possible if it wasn't for the collectionist. I'm going to put his tweet in the description below, so you guys can go ahead and click on it and just follow him on Twitter as well. He is the sponsor to this giveaway, so we couldn't have done it if it wasn't for him. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and start this video. It is said that men fears what they don't know or understand, and that's exactly how I feel every time I go back and remember the year of 2013. What happened that year? Well, some of you may not remember this, but that was the first year that Nintendo decided to do a Nintendo Direct instead of holding a press conference like their competitors, Microsoft and Sony. A lot of people's opinions were pretty negative when Nintendo made the announcement, but it wasn't until the event actually came around that people understood what Nintendo was trying to do. And it has pretty much become a tradition, because to this day, Nintendo are still doing Nintendo Directs rather than having press conferences, unlike their competitors Microsoft and Sony. Now, Sony came out the other day and stated that they're not going to be at E3 2019. This is a totally different strategy from what Nintendo is doing, because Nintendo never stated that they were not going to be appearing at E3. They're still there, but they just don't have irregular conferences. They just have Nintendo Directs. Now, Sony is not going to be at E3 at all, which means that there will not be any conferences, there will not be any games, there will not be any new announcements, there will be no Sony at E3 2019. Even as a Nintendo fan, I do have to admit that not having Sony at E3 2019, it is kind of a big deal. Sony hasn't really gotten into any specifics and what sort of events they're going to be having next year, but we're all assuming that they will have their own version of the Nintendo Directs. Now, how is this going to impact E3 2019? Well, I do think that it's going to impact it in certain ways, and we will talk about that in just a little bit. But first, I would like to talk about something else that I've been seeing a lot of people saying online, and that is that it's irrelevant to have E3 anymore. Now, there's not a lot of people saying this, but I have seen quite a few people mentioning it, and I would like to talk about that first. I guess we better start off with a question, and that is, does it even make sense to keep E3 alive? Companies like Nintendo have showed us that they don't need E3 to be their main show in order for them to make big announcements. As a matter of fact, in the last Nintendo Direct we got announcements of plenty of games like Luigi's Mansion 3 and Animal Crossing that they didn't even announce or talked about at E3 2018. Not only that, but throughout all these years, Nintendo has proven that they can make big announcements and unique announcements in their Nintendo Directs without them having to be at E3. So as a Nintendo fan, the argument of saying that E3 is not as valuable as it once was, yeah, it's actually pretty correct. But again, I am a Nintendo fan, and Nintendo does have different platforms in which they make announcements. But what about the actual convention? Does it make sense to keep E3 alive in order for gamers to come in and experience new games? Well, what moves the gaming industry? What moves E3? Yeah, that's right, the mighty dollar. And if you look at the last 2 years of E3, it has been pretty successful for them. E3 2017 was pretty successful with an attendance of 68,400, and E3 2018 had an attendance of 69,200. And if you're curious, the best attendance that E3 has ever had is 70,000. So we're talking about E3 success based on attendance. We're not factoring in other monetary gains they had, like sponsors and other business crap that I'm not willing to talk about here in this video. So financially, it doesn't make sense for E3 to go away. Now, when companies stop showing up to E3, that could be very dangerous. And I'm not talking about third-party companies or anything like that, like Bethesda or Rockstar. I'm talking about hardware manufacturers like Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. I'll give you an example of what I mean by dangerous. And let's say that I like to attend to E3. As a Nintendo fan, I'm always looking forward to what Nintendo has to show at E3, even though I do understand that that doesn't have to be their main show anymore. But if Nintendo comes out of the blue and states that they're not going to be at E3, then I'm not going to feel like going to E3 anymore. Yes, I do like PS4. Yes, I do like Xbox One, but Nintendo is my main company and I wanted to experience their games as well as seeing their Nintendo E3 Direct. Why am I going to spend $250 to attend to E3 if I'm not going to enjoy it to the fullest? And just like me, there's probably a lot of Nintendo fans out there that feel the same way. See what I mean? In other words, I do think that E3 2019 will be at least affected attendance-wise because Sony is not going to be there. How much is it going to be affected? That is yet to be seen. But when we think about that, we do have to consider that Sony is the console leader right now, and it has a lot of fans that would like to see more games and would like to see what Sony has to announce. But for now, it's just a waiting game. In conclusion, do I think that E3 will die? Not yet, at least. Yes, there's companies out there that are not considering E3 to be their main platform to make announcements, but I only consider that E3 will die when console manufacturers stop showing up in there. Yes, there's a lot of fans that are thinking that Sony's not showing up to E3 2019 may be the beginning of E3's death, but honestly, we just don't have enough information. Maybe Sony is just keeping E3 2019 but will come back E3 2020 and on. So in my opinion, I think that if you're making those statements, you're just jumping the ship way too quick. But what do you guys think? Do you think that E3 will stay around? Do you think it'll die soon, or do you think it'll die later? Leave your opinions in the comment section below. And as usual, this is Ray Cabana from Nerdy Cabana wishing you a blessed one. You made it to the end of the video? Get out of here. I wish I could give you a one-up mushroom or something like that, but unfortunately they don't exist. Now, something that I can't keep giving you is great content, so you make sure you hit that subscribe button to subscribe to Nerdy Cabana and click that bell button in order for you to get notifications every time that I upload a video. And hey, while you're at it, go and check out some of my previous uploads. I hope you enjoyed them.